Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Hydra. Now, it's been a while since we've taken a look at Hydra, and there's a reason for that. And first of all, it's a much lower market cap altcoin, which means that during sort of the pre-halving years and the non-bullrun years, I sort of expect these very low altcoins to bleed because there's no money really locked up in them. And second of all, we just don't have a lot of data for Hydra. Like, the coin has been around for just under 3 years now, and even though it caught the coattails of it rode all the way through the sort of 2021 bull run and saw great price action. Ever since, it's been dropping, and it's even gone down to new lows, all-time lows. In fact, it was September when it put in its all-time low, which is only a couple of months ago. But ever since then, it has been rallying, but there's just not much data around Hydra, so it's very difficult to draw and make any meaningful conclusions from the chart. We will be making a couple of comparisons, like you can already see here, with this sort of a move that I'll talk about in a second. We'll also compare it to a higher cap altcoin to see how it fared and whether it was too far away from what was expected of it during this time frame. So we might as well get straight into it. And we'll start off with this initial comparison here. We can see that back in January of 2022, we had sort of a bit of a drop, followed by a little bit of a pump that was ultimately followed by poorer price action. And here we can see very recently we've had a similar pattern play out. We had a bit of a drop, a bit of a move up and down here, same sort of price action, followed by a drop that breaks down below a certain level, and then a rally afterwards. And we've had this rally. And what's interesting is peak of this initial rally didn't reach the sell-off point that came before it. So if you will, it dropped, give or take, let's take a look. It stayed 16% below where it initially dropped from. So it dropped and rallied back up, but it was still 16% below. If we take a look at where Hydra is now, we can also see that it's 16% below this sort of resistance line. So for me, it looks very similar, like it's playing out. Again, I don't envision a lot of altcoins doing well before the halving, even though it seems the whole crypto space has been popping off. Theory, what I would be used to seeing, having looked at past altcoins and stuff, leading up to the halving, they generally don't do great, and then after the halving, they start doing well. And the fact that we're seeing this sort of a move here, and here it was 16% below, and then it was basically followed by poor price action. We've seen a very similar move, but to a grander scale here, but the percentages and the lines sort of remain the same, where we're still 16%, this initial drop-off point, and afterwards we had worse price action, and we returned lower than where we were. Now, whether this happens, I don't know. Again, we're sort of coming to a crunch time with a lot of altcoins where it's more reasonable to start being hopeful. I mean, we're Q4, close to Q1 of 2024, a year before the expected bull run, a few months before the halving, and generally the halving results in better price action for crypto across the board. So for me, what I expect in the next few months is that as long as we don't break above this trend line, we will most likely move down. I don't think we'll see a lot of sideways movement. I think the trend will be a slow trend down, like we saw sort of here, where we have a very, slow sort of movement. Basically does that. And I would expect to see something similar here up until the halving. And then on the sort of halving week, anything can happen. It's an extremely volatile time. But generally afterwards, I would expect Hydra to climb in price. Even if it is slowly for the whole of 2024, I would be looking at us to close the year somewhere around $2.50, somewhere back at this range, because that sort of leads us at a point where we can still have strong rallies into 2025 and come back to our all-time highs, potentially in a perfect world. However, if Hydra does break above this level in the next few weeks, then it's just doing something completely new. Again, it's been very hard to try and find reoccurrences on Hydra's chart that are sort of useful for today, and this was the most interesting one I could find. If it does break above here, then it makes this point null and void, and I don't know, to be honest with you. If it wants to follow the rest of the crypto space, we could continue to see rallies into the halving, and then maybe some sort of a correction. I'm not sure, but what we always have seen usually is price corrections close to the halving, in and around the halving, and altcoins are not an exception to that. And if we pull up the bull market support band here, we can see like Hydra has finally broken above the bull market support band for the first time ever, realistically, in its price. Like, it's spent time within the range, but it's never actually traded above the bull market support band, really, like a couple of wicks, but nothing. And here we're finally seeing remaining above it, but it's still riding the wave here. And we can see the bull market support band has sort of plateaued and evened out and become more of a straight line. It hasn't turned bullish, but it's become a flat line, meaning that it could go either way at the moment. If Hydra drops down here now and goes below the bull market support band, it'll stay below the bull market support band for another little while. And I would assume if we get some sort of a reasonable pump above, like another one of these weeks, or any sort of decent price movement that brings us above this level, I would expect Hydra to stay above the bull market support band for the foreseeable future. Even if it is a very slow incline for the rest of 2024, I would expect it to stay above the bull market support band most of the time. And we'll see that the trend slowly shifts to becoming bullish instead of bearish. This could be the start of the bullish trend upwards. This could just be an impressive fake out that's wicked it above its bull market support band, but ultimately did nothing. Time will tell. If we want to take a look at ADA and zoom in here from the highs, we can see Hydra hasn't really been doing too great. I'll turn off the bull market support band so we can see clearly what's going on here. ADA's gone down 86% since its high, and that wasn't even its all-time high. If we want to take it from ADA's all-time high, it sort of plays out the same, to be honest with you. ADA's down about 85% or so, and Hydra's down about 97, 98%, which isn't really great, to be honest with you. It just goes to show that the further down the risk curve you go in crypto during a bear market, the more money you're going to lose during the bad times. So, and the reverse for a bull run. Like, if we take a look at, Hydra's performance compared to ADA's during the previous bull run, huge returns. But ultimately, Cardano has been the better play long term. If you were buying here and hoping to hold for 5 years, you're much happier if you've bought Cardano than Hydra at the moment. So again, just pointing out that, during these poor times, low caps aren't great. And again, going back to the point of why I don't really make Hydra videos too often, even though I love the altcoin and I'm very enthusiastic about the altcoin, there's no real need to do regular videos on these cryptos. Once every couple of months is sufficient for sure. But I thought it was necessary now because we are now coming up to a sort of pivotal time. And also this pattern again has played out, which is interesting to look at for sure. Now here, what we're looking at now is the total value locked on the Hydra chain. And if you're not quite sure what total value locked means, it means the amount of money being staked on the Hydra network. And if you're not sure what staked is, it's when you basically give your money back to the network to borrow, and they return that money eventually with interest. And usually you can set how long you want to give it for, or there's flexible staking. I'm pretty sure Hydra is flexible staking, but that's a whole other video. If you're not sure what staking is, go watch another video to find out what that is. But it's basically a measure of how much money is locked into the Hydra protocol. So how much money is currently on. And as we can see, we don't have as much data. We only have from sort of mid-April of 2022, so a year and a half of data. But we can see it's gone from one extreme to the other, and it's never really gone sideways. There's always been a lot of value being lost on the Hydra network or a lot of value being gained. And in particular, I want to talk about this sort of last 6-7 months back in May when this Hydra 2.0 proposal was proposed, and we saw a big withdrawal from the Hydra community, and it was followed by poor price action on its US dollar pair as well. If we take a look of June this year, we can see that's basically when a lot of this poor price action happened. And then if we switch back, we can see this sort of relief, this slow steady climb has been matched with the US dollar pair. So we can see that the total value locked tails the US dollar price quite closely. And what's interesting is we've never actually really seen a move like this take place on the total value locked of Hydra on its chart ever. Maybe on other charts that have more data in the past, it might have. But for what I have and what I'm showing you, this is a first time move for Hydra. So again, it's kind of it's an unprecedented time, and that's also because it's the first time Hydra is coming up to the Bitcoin halving, first time Hydra's ever been at the end of a bear market. There's a lot of stuff that's the first time for Hydra right now. So it really could go either way. But I think it would be a good idea to keep, if you're actively monitoring Hydra, or if you're sort of day trading Hydra or whatever, I think it would be worth your while to keep an eye on the total value locked and see where it leads the Hydra price, because the Hydra price always follows. Once the total value locked starts to drop, Hydra's price starts to drop. And that often is because people are withdrawing their Hydra to sell it because they're not sure about the project. Again, if you're new to the term of total value locked, it's often an indicator for how trustworthy a cryptocurrency is, because if lots of people are willing to lock away their money with a cryptocurrency, it means they trust it. It means they're not expecting to be scammed or rug pulled or anything like this. So currently in an uptrend. I've been in an uptrend since September. Again, Hydra was sort of early to pump as well. Hydra started rallying when Rune started rallying. Not as early as Rune, but close to the time when Rune started rallying, which was one of the first cryptos to move in a crazy sort of way, like we've seen the last month or two. So very interesting times for Hydra, really. I think that's basically all I want to say. Again, kind of talked about everything that we need to. If you think I've forgotten something, or if there's something that I should mention, please comment it down below. I am often sometimes unaware of announcements in the community and stuff. And even though I am following Hydra, I wouldn't always be looking at the Telegram and going on the website and checking for updates and looking at updated road paths and what's being introduced. I do know that recently, I'm pretty sure their liquid staking protocol has been released or is very close to being released, which is cool. It's a good thing and will surely help the price later down the road. It could be what started this initial pump. I'm not quite sure. But tell me what's going on with the Hydra community in the comments if you know. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe. And again, I always do get back to you in the comments, so hit me up. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care and peace.